Hi, this is Doc Mike talking to you about the pros and cons about moving to Portugal. A couple of years ago, the pundits were pushing Ecuador, and now, very recently, they've been pushing Portugal as the best country in the world to retire. Let's have a more deeper, balanced view of all these pros and cons that are coming along. Friends and family from especially the US have been asking me, look, you've been traveling all around the world, you've been living in Portugal, why don't you give us a little bit of an update? So I decided to do this video. The pros start with the weather. The weather is very, very good. It's one of the best places for good weather and 300 days of average sunshine in Europe. It's about in the Algarve, that's about the 300 days. In the northern parts of the country, it's a lot more rainy in the winter especially, and a lot more damp. But even in the Algarve, it can be very damp and rainy over the winter period. The next one is the English language. English is widely spoken, especially in the service industry and the hospitality industry. And this is very, very positive because you don't find it so much in the northern part of the country. Online shopping is rather good. Amazon is now also shipping to Portugal. There is no Amazon Portugal. You have to go through Amazon Spain. But we experienced that you have actually better, frequently, customer service when you are an Amazon customer in Portugal than when you are an Amazon customer in Spain. The other one, pro, is tax incentives. There are quite some tax advantages for international investors or international retirees. So some of these programs are in the process of being changed, so better make sure you understand what the current situation is. Visas, Portugal is one of the most flexible countries in Europe to come into the European Union for non-EU citizens. And they have short, medium, and long-term visa programs. Make sure you look them up on the web or go through an immigration lawyer to understand the pros and cons of these. Now we come to the cons. And a lot of people moved to Portugal on a whim. They saw these glossy magazines and they said, this is the best country to retire. But then they discovered some of the cons, and here they are. Number one is the public healthcare system. We talked about the English language, but in the public healthcare system, English is not widely spoken, especially not extremely fluent. So the downside can be that there's a lot to be lost in translation. The quality of care leaves certain things to be desired. Let's put it this way. According to the WHO data, the Portuguese appear less happy, less satisfied with the availability and the quality of health care than citizens of other European countries. Overall, there's a lack of care also in the emergency medical response. And I witnessed certain situations firsthand, and I compared those with procedures that you have, let's say, in America, in the UK, in Northern Europe, of how to respond and what quality, what speed of care you have in these northern countries or US or UK, and it doesn't match what you would find in these countries, what you find in Portugal. Another one is getting MRIs and CTs. If you talk to the people, you will understand the Portuguese or foreigners that they are not really willing in the public healthcare system to give you a prescription, to give you access to MRIs and to CTs. they, in a way, you could say they become virtually unattainable because they want to save the costs unless it's an absolute emergency and it has to be done. Road safety is another downside. Within the European Union, Portugal has one of the not so good statistics in terms of fatal traffic accidents. In terms of statistics, when you look at road safety statistics in the European Union, you see that Portugal has about 61 road deaths per 1 million inhabitants. To put that in perspective, the figure of 61 has to be compared with Spain, 36, and Germany, 37, just to put that in perspective. Another big downside is the disaster preparedness. There, disaster preparedness, now we have the period of wildfires in the summer all around the world, in the US and obviously right now in Europe, wildfires all over, extreme heat waves. In 2017 in Portugal, one of the worst wildfire disasters in European history happened. In 2017, 64 people died and 250 were injured in the deadliest wildfire in Portuguese history. After a heat wave and several forest fires started to burn and ravaged and raged through Portugal, mainly central Portugal, for many days. Most of the victims died in their cars trying to escape the fires. It became painfully clear that the Portuguese emergency response and disaster preparedness had been seriously inadequate. A 2019 peer review compiled by the European Commission highlights many areas in the Portuguese civil protection and disaster risk management system that need urgent improvement. The EU Commission especially highlights a lack of communication from the central national level between that national level and the local level of disaster preparedness. Another big one is corruption. So you can ask almost any Portuguese, what is the number one thing that bothers them about their country? The number one thing that comes up is corruption. The Transparency International Corruption Perception Index rates Portugal with a 33. Spain ranks number 32, France 23, and just for perspective, Canada at about 11. Real estate is another challenging area. It's rather pricey to buy real estate in Portugal. And you have issues like shared inheritance. That means you buy something and very often there's shared inheritance that the owner of the properties or the owners live as Portuguese in either Australia, the other one in South Africa, and the third one in France. And then it is not easy to get a clear title. So it's very, very important there, as most places, but get a lawyer. Mold, due to the damp, humid climate, especially in the winter time, even in the Algarve in the south, you have a lot of mold and dampness coming into your buildings. Heating is very often not adequate, and especially the building standards when compared to Northern Europe, to the UK, or to compared to the US, are not up to par to deal with damp and mold conditions, especially in the wintertime. Sewage odor is one thing that we encountered in almost any neighborhood, especially also in the Algarve, in any part of the day, any part of the night, any part of the season. Dogs barking at night, be prepared. There's nothing you can do about it. It's something that also happens in other southern European countries. They bark all night long and nobody does anything about it. So if you like this pro and cons analysis, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And thank you for listening. Bye-bye.